Well, welcome everyone to ShiftCo. My name is Stephen Donaco. I'm the Director of Programming for ShiftCo, and it's my pleasure to be hosting Marty Spiegelman for this topic, Precision Consciousness for Your Business and for Your Life. And I've known Marty, I've had the pleasure of knowing Marty for a few years now. We've worked together on some things, and I'm just really looking forward to having this conversation with her. Marty, you could just see her really quick bio there on the slide, but let me just give you a little bit more detail. She is the founder of Shaman's Light, a professional training program dedicated to the creation of abundance through evolved consciousness and passion-based work. In the business realm, Marty serves as a fellow to REX, the Relationship Economy Expedition. She was named the 2010 Cambridge Registry Executive Professional of the Year for her work in applying the principles of consciousness to the evolution of business and environmental action. Marty is also a member of the Content Evolution Federation of Business Advisors, where she works in collaboration to develop groundbreaking methodologies for raising the level of consciousness in the practice, organization, and evolution of business, finance, and governance. And not least, Marty is a master teacher on the ShiftCo platform. So Marty Spiegelman, welcome. It's really great to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So let me let in another person. So Marty, as I said, I've known you for a little while, and we've had some really great conversations offline, and now just really loving to bring this online with you. So you have a deep business background, and you're also just a very devoted practitioner of consciousness and teaching people the skills of consciousness. So can you share with us just a little bit more about your background and how, like, where those things intersected for you, and how you became a business person that integrates the consciousness into what you do?
Oh yeah, this is it's a long story. I'll try to make like a lightning bolt for everybody. So I started in science because that's what I was exposed to when I was young. And I very quickly bolted out of science into graphic design, which was actually also my first foray into business. I had my own design firm for 20 years in San Francisco. And then circumstances in business changed, and I decided not to run that business anymore. And I got into energy healing because I live in California, and I was having a midlife crisis. So you go off and you get energy healing, right? That's what we do on the West Coast. And so it turned out this energy healing, I was dabbling in visionary craniosacral work. And I ended up training with the guy who I was going to for sessions. And one day the two of us realized that I knew about the work already. And so I didn't have my business anymore. I was sort of dabbling, I was teaching, and gradually in this period of my life, I began to realize that I had always been interested in consciousness. I'd always been interested in people and how they behave and why they behave and what's important to them. And I was very interested in why people would turn away from what was important to them, to work on a should instead of the thing that actually produces abundance, right? And, all of this, I can say this clearly now, but it was like I don't know, some sort of mushroom cloud in my own consciousness that was slowly rising and unfurling. But what happened was I got into energy healing, and I was teaching, and I got into shamanic work. I was actually invited by Indigenous elders to study with them. And as I gradually moved into this sort of new agey work, I realized that people interested in healing and consciousness and energy were terrible with money. And that didn't make any sense to me, because consciousness, the big consciousness, left to its own devices, I mean, no human interference, does nothing but produce abundance and the momentum to keep on doing that. I mean, all I have to do is walk into a forest and hang out, right? Walk into a meadow and hang out. There is nothing in the forest that's saying, oh no, I really can't because I have to go do this other thing, right? I'm sorry, just It doesn't work that. It's abundance, and it's constantly flowing, and it creates its own momentum for more. So I decided to start teaching my quote unquote shamanic students a little bit about business. But during that time, I realized that the principles, they're called organizing principles, in particular in the Andean traditions, that these principles that are held in this timeless human tradition, this body of human wisdom, the principles described the physics of human consciousness, the physics of how human consciousness is part of the big consciousness, and how to, for us as humans, how to embody those principles so we start operating like a forest does. We start operating like a prairie does. We start operating like a healthy ecosystem, and we start creating abundance the way we're supposed to. And humans, I mean, we're not just going to be agricultural. Now modern humans have businesses. That's kind of the way we create abundance, we hope, right? And so it seemed to me that everything we're seeking in business, it's all about consciousness. Yeah, I mean, a business, you can think of a business as a node of consciousness in a big system, but that node exists in order to create, exchange, and distribute value. Create, exchange, and distribute value. Like trees in a forest are creating, exchanging, and distributing nutrients and pheromones and all the things that happen in a forest to keep it alive. We're creating value. A big marker of value in a human system is money. So if you shy away from money, you're shying away from consciousness. So this was the spark. This is where it all came together for me. So everything I was learning in Indigenous cultures, it's really exactly what we need in our business world.
Yeah. And I want to, one of the things you said resonated in particular with me, where you said we tend to go towards the things that we think we should be doing. And it's, I just, can you give us a little bit more insight on that exploration? Because a lot of the people who are members of ShiftCo are pursuing the thing that they're feeling into as their passion and where they can be the most creative. So I think everyone here gets that. And I love being reminded of it too, because there's the world's always kind of like nudging you like, well, you should really be doing this and not that. And how do you maintain consciousness of that abundant role that we all play in life?
Yeah, well, you've touched on a bunch of things there. And one is that we get a little tripped up with our own English language. So it's not so much the question of how do we maintain consciousness as we pursue our most abundant path. It's becoming fully conscious is the only way you're going to find that most abundant path, right? So consciousness, let's just think about consciousness, first of all, as a flow of energy and information through the whole universe. And that flow from time to time will create something like a galaxy or a planet. Flow will create, it's called the torus dynamic. So we emerge out of this big flow, right? And so we're part of the big flow. And that flow is constantly informing us, right? This is how we know neurophysiologically the world is sending you data 24/7, you can't stop it, right? And we're part of a bigger system. So one of the principles of this big flow is the principle of, I'm going to use this word loosely, alignment. And I don't mean me separate aligning with something separate. I mean the flow that I am flowing in the right direction, right? In Indigenous cultures, they say, imagine your life as a river, and the flow that you are is what carves that riverbed, right? So using awareness properly, our job is to experience ourselves in relationship to the world. And if we do that, what the world tells us is, don't you remember your passion? Here it is. This is your passion. This is your passion. This is why you are here. This is the thing that organizes your thoughts and your heart and your relationships and your love. Yeah. So that is our alignment. That is our passion. That is what we, quote unquote, should be doing. That's why we're here. Yeah. Some of us have really wonderful, wild, outlandish passions. That is why we're here. We need to be doing that because that's what we can contribute. So this is a little difficult in the modern world because we live on expectations. We have a model over here that we're supposed to match, right? Business is supposed to be that way. The focus of your business can only be these things, and you can't build a business around that thing, right? So we have a way in the modern world of depending on an external framework that we didn't help create. All right, so we get caught in the should. I should be doing this. I mean, I had a design corporation. Was I supposed to I gave it up in one afternoon. That's what happened to my business. That's another sidebar. But I gave it up in one afternoon because the big framework just wasn't working anymore. That's something you should not do, right? You should plan and yada yada. Consciousness doesn't work that way. Consciousness works with that flow moving through you. So moment to moment, if you are present where you are, the universe literally guides you. And I'm talking physics. I'm not talking some sort of woo-woo spiritual language. This is literal. Yeah. So this is the only way I found out I was interested in consciousness was to be, I'm going to use this phrase, present in the moment. That's another principle of consciousness. Real presence, which means your awareness is working here now. It's not focused on an endpoint. Right? I have to be here now to experience my interaction with the world around me, because I guarantee you that interaction, if you're experiencing it, will show you who you are and what you're here for. That's your business. Your own gift, really, you've heard this in a lot of different ways, the workshop-y ways, but I'm serious. This is the physics of consciousness. Your own gift is what you came here to give, and that's what the world is ready to support you in.
Yeah.
That's where you find your business.
Yeah. And this,
I don't know if I answered.
yeah, no, I love that. And this, so what I'm going to ask everyone, if you've got questions for Marty, feel free to put them in the chat, or I'm going to have you could just pipe in at any point. Let me add, but I want to follow up on what you just said, Marty, because the title of this particular webinar, as well as one of your courses on ShiftCo, is called Precision Consciousness. Right. So whenever we qualify something like, precision consciousness, whenever we put a qualifier on it, well, there must be some other pole, like there's something that's not precise, or there's a not precise consciousness. So could you speak to what it is, like what is why should we be focused on precision consciousness? What does it mean, and how does it differ from imprecise consciousness?
Oh God, what a great question. That's really great. Well, it's kind of a poignant question too, because in the Western world, we are kind of addicted to our thinking minds and to measuring and to being incredibly precise. We think we're just so precise, right? So let's see how to answer this in a brief way. Let me give you a little anecdote. I said a minute ago that we are receiving sensory data 24/7. Your nervous system is collecting energy and information from the universe all the time. You literally cannot stop it, right? That data is absolutely precise. It is taken into your nervous system. It is recorded precisely. It is stored. It is mixed and matched with other data you've collected from the world. If you train yourself, you can recall that data and create with it on the fly. Really creative people do this all the time. Yeah, that is precise. Right? What is not precise is what Western people have learned to do. We've learned to migrate our awareness into a very tiny portion of our brains, which has a good function, but that little portion of the brain is not wired